Today we are updating our Dynasty rookie rankings, so we're going to give you the top 24 rookies in Dynasties. OTAs has happened, so we at least have some receipts of what these rookies have done so far. Still not a lot, but we're still going to update these as we get closer to the NFL season. We know we're going to be in high demand for these rookie rankings. Do us a huge favor. Make sure you like the video and make sure you're subscribed as well. If you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, we can be your home for Dynasty content. That's all you need to know. And also, head over to flockfantasy.com/domain. You get 30% off articles, rankings, all your other content creators, all your favorite content creator stuff. Not to mention, if you do the Mother Flocker tier, we will create a personalized team review video for you. We'll grade your team, redraft, dynasty, whatever team it is. And you can get in a listener league with us. We've got best ball leagues, and we got a dynasty league open if you want to get in a dynasty league with us. So make sure you head over to flockfantasy.com. Like I said, use code domain. And today, like I said, we're going to be talking about the updated top 24 dynasty rookie rankings. And we're going to start in the S tier. Simon, take it away. S for Simon.
S for Simon.
There you go.
S also for Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson. Best prospect since Saquon Barkley, who actually does have an S in his name. Obviously an incredible prospect coming out of Texas. One of the best pass catchers we've seen at the running back position in a long time. And he just happened to land on the team that ran the ball more than any other team in the NFL last year, and probably next year as well. It's Arthur Smith with the Falcons. They have a great offensive line, and Bijan is going to eat there even with Tyler Algier. We're not worried about it. Next, it's a little bit controversial, but in the S tier, we have Anthony Richardson getting drafted 4th overall to the Colts. He's coming into a pretty good situation, but that's not what we're really worried about. We're not worried about the weapons or the offensive line there. We're looking at this guy and saying, he broke the combine last year. This guy does not need to pass for 200 yards a game. He does not need to pass for 30 touchdowns to be fantasy relevant. He is going to have rushing upside like we've never seen before. And that's really, that's about it. That's all you need to know.
And by the way, who called this before anyone else?
We did.
All three of us.
And we got trashed for it. That's why you need to subscribe. We're like genies. We're like, wait. Is that what a genie does? Does a genie predict your...
No, a genie grants you a wish.
Well, I've seen Aladdin. All right, the A tier is going to start with Bryce Young. Bryce Young, obviously, the 101 in this year's NFL draft, and there are lofty expectations for Bryce Young. At this point, I think the expectations may be a little bit too high. I do think Bryce Young has a transitory period to get used to the NFL, to get used to the feel. He does still have the size question. While Bryce Young does everything so well, do not forget that the size doesn't completely go away. You see him in OTAs. He looks like a middle schooler out there. He does. But Bryce Young, phenomenal prospect. You have to think that there are going to be many aspects of his game that are going to translate right away. And because of that, he could easily and should be the best QB to come out of this draft class. So we're expecting big things out of Bryce Young, just maybe not this year. CJ Stroud is a guy that I think actually could translate a little bit quicker than Bryce Young, given some of his more natural abilities throwing the ball with his accuracy and things like that. I think he has an NFL style throw already, so I think he's going to adjust very well. Playing with the Houston Texans, not the best situation for CJ Stroud immediately. However, we are liking CJ Stroud right now because he has become a great value in Dynasty, a great one. In the rookie draft, starting to slide, 106. If you're getting Stroud at the 106, no brainer. He's the 102 QB. He's plenty talented. You saw what he did in college. You should absolutely be taking him there. In startups, if you're getting him in the 4th or 5th round, like I've been seeing recently, he is a smash. He is a smash there. There is no reason Anthony Richardson should go in the 1st, Bryce Young should go in the 2nd, and CJ Stroud should go in the 4th round. There is no reason. JSN's going to be the next guy in this tier, and with Jackson Smith and Jigba, look, we've made this argument plenty of times, but in case you aren't familiar with it, Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's played with elite wide receivers pretty much since he came out of high school. So him playing with DK Metcalf, him playing with Tyler Lockett, not a new thing. We don't think this will hinder his rookie season performance. In fact, we are projecting Jackson Smith and Jigba to have a big rookie year, and because of that, we love his price right now into the 3rd, 4th round in Dynasty startups. 105, 106 typically in your Dynasty rookie drafts if you're still doing those. So given that price, given what we are expecting him to do from a production standpoint in his first year, given the fact that he is an elite wide receiver prospect with elite change of direction, we love JSN at his current price. And Jahmyr Gibbs. And look, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's in the same tier as all these guys, and he absolutely deserves to be. A running back getting top 12 draft capital. Everybody's overlooking it because Bijan went at 8. They shouldn't be. Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Simon mentioned Bijan's route running. Jahmyr Gibbs, better route runner than Bijan is. He just is. It's the one thing he does better than almost any prospect I've seen come out in the last 10, 12 years. His route tree is crazy. He is going to be very, very good in the receiving game. We'll see between the tackles, but do not be afraid of how the Lions are going to use him because they will use him. They spent the draft capital. They like him as a playmaker. He will produce this year as well. You see receiving backs coming to the NFL. They usually produce right away. So going to move down to the B tier now.
Yeah, so the B tier, this has not changed. Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, and you can make an argument for any of them to be anywhere around this tier. If you wanted anyone over the other, that would be completely fine. All of these guys have their own questions to answer going into the NFL. The only true wide receiver one that I can really see out of these three personally is Quentin Johnson in Dynasty, which is why we're going to have him at the top here in the B tier over Jordan Addison, who is behind Justin Jefferson for the foreseeable future, and Zay Flowers, who I think is just going to have a cap ceiling in the Baltimore Ravens offense ultimately with Lamar Jackson's rushing upside. But when you're looking at Quentin Johnson, do remember that we play Dynasty fantasy football and not just straight up fantasy football. Addison and Flowers are probably going to put up more points than he is for the next season or even two, but Mike Williams and Keenan Allen aren't getting any younger. Those guys are not going to be able to be paid by the Chargers long term because of the mega deal they're going to have to give Justin Herbert very, very soon. That's why they drafted Quentin Johnson, to get a solid wide receiver on a rookie deal, and he's going to be Herbert's number one sooner than I even think some people think. Then, of course, Jordan Addison playing behind Justin Jefferson, really replacing Adam Thielen, more of a talented wide receiver, obviously incredible draft capital, and Kirk Cousins has shown that he can support two wide receiver ones in an offense. So we're really excited what he can do there, placed in a perfect situation where they're going to complement each other very well. Zay Flowers, his competition consists of Mark Andrews and really Rashad Bateman, who I think is going under the radar a little bit right now in Dynasty, but Flowers I think is a superior wide receiver who's going to get most of the opportunities there at the wide receiver position in Baltimore. And again, we say this all the time, Greg Roman is gone. Greg Roman is gone. Todd Monken is in. And that means more targets for the wide receivers specifically, more opportunity and more ability for them to really be X factors and high producing assets in fantasy for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next in the C tier, we got C for Charbonnet.
Yeah.
Zach Charbonnet is also someone coming out of college who offered quite a bit of receiving upside. Not only was he a good rusher when he was in the Big Ten at Michigan, he proved doubters wrong when he left that Michigan O-line and went to UCLA and produced just as much. Yep. He spent 4 years in college, but we're looking at Zach Charbonnet entering into the Seattle offense with a lot of hope in hope for his future, especially when you look at Kenneth Walker, who established himself last year. Walker only had 27 receptions last year, and that's a skill set that Charbonnet is going to bring into that offense, and look for him in PPR leagues to be a very valuable dynasty asset. Next, we have Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid is one of the few tight ends who gets blessed with first-round honors. He's entering an offense with Josh Allen and Dawson Knox, who really, he's never shown the ability to dominate any sort of target share. And so Kincaid, someone who last year in games was having 8, 9, 10 targets at Utah, very, very good tight end. The problem with Kincaid, and the thing we are going to warn you guys about, do not expect him to produce right off the bat. There have been 396 rookie tight end seasons recorded since 2000. Only 9 of those seasons have a tight end tight end scored more than 10 points per game. And so don't expect Kincaid to be one of them this year, but long term, he definitely has the upside, and he could be honestly functioning as a wide receiver on that Bills offense, and that's an offense you want a piece of. Last, we have Will Levis, someone a lot of you might be cringing at. Will Levis, he had an interesting draft process and obviously fell to the second round where he was selected by the Titans.
It was the banana and the mayo in the coffee.
Oh, that was disgusting.
It's gross.
But we don't expect Will Levis to start this year. Ryan Tannehill is still a serviceable NFL starter, and there's no reason to throw Levis into that position. And we really expect his value. Some people aren't on that same wavelength for some reason, so we think his value may drop during the season when people realize he's not going to be the starter. But we're still drafting him in Superflex. He has the upside and the ability to be a long-term starter if he functions and if he learns behind Ryan Tannehill in that Tennessee offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving down to the D tier here, we're going to start with Josh Downs. Josh Downs, look, you can say we're playing the homer card here. That's fine. I know you can't see the football. The tier list is up, but you can say we're playing the homer card here. And honestly, we might not fight you too much on it. That being said, I've been high on Josh Downs for a really long time. Since last year, I had him in a Devy league. So I think I'm qualified enough to say that I've liked Josh Downs for a long time. Josh Downs does a lot of things well. As a slot receiver, I think he's going to complement Michael Pittman very well, regardless of people thinking that they could potentially hurt each other's production. I think he's good working the middle of the field in the slot. I also think he's good stretching the field, which makes him a pretty complete receiver when you think about it. This is a guy that when you look at some of his draft grades from not only different teams, but some of the more respected fantasy and NFL analysts around the league had a first-round draft grade on Josh Downs. So when you're talking about him going in the third round, yes, they're statistically, when you're talking about third-round receivers and their hit rates, not the best. However, with Josh Downs' skill set, with his situation, we do believe in him more than the average bear that goes in the third round. And honestly, we're pretty high on Josh Downs, so we're ranking him pretty generously. Jaden Reed is another guy that we are super high on. We will continue to call our shot on Jaden Reed, and we will continue to ignore the comments that say that Jaden Reed is not going to play in the slot this season. If you really don't think so, just wait. When the games start, if he's not playing in the slot, you can come on our channel and you can say, yeah, he's not playing in the slot. But I've got a little spoiler for you. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to complement Christian Watson. Christian Watson being more of a deep threat. Jaden Reed is going to be able to work the middle of the field with some of his quicker routes, even work from the outside, maybe out of the slot a little bit, still working the middle of the field in the intermediate game. That's going to equal targets, guys. And again, when we're playing in these PPR leagues, Jaden Reed is going to become hyper valuable because of his ability to earn targets. We're projecting it now. We project that he's going to have a better rookie year than some think he's going to. You're getting him in the 13th, 14th round of Dynasty startup drafts. Magnificent value. Love Jaden Reed here at Dynasty Domain. And then we're going to have Michael Mayer. And look, are you going to do Michael Mayer?
No.
I thought it was my turn. You ever take a breath in the mic like that during my turn again? I'm going to slap you. Michael Mayer. Look, Michael Mayer is the second. Well, I would venture to say he's the second receiving option in Vegas, even ahead of Josh Jacobs. I think Michael Mayer
And Hunter
Renfro and Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
No, I think Michael Mayer will be the wide receiver too there this year, or the second target. With Michael Mayer, I think he's going to translate to the NFL very well. I think he's going to have more targets in this first year than people think. Jimmy Garoppolo, historically, when you look at his success with tight ends, he has typically done very well with tight ends. He did very well with George Kittle. I think Michael Mayer is going to, like I said, I think he's going to have an impact right away. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to use him more than people think. And I think you might see his value spike up a little bit once he starts getting some of these targets. Now, do I expect him to be one of those 10 points per game plus tight ends that Simon was talking about? Again, that would have to be a serious outlier for that to happen. So no. But that being said, I think the Raiders are a team that's going to run the ball a lot this year. So I think that saying that Mayer would be targeted the second most out of anybody on that team is not a bold prediction. It is a little ballsy. I'll be a little bit ballsy with that. But again, like I said, Michael Mayer, talented tight end, early second round draft capital. And I think that he's going to do very well for himself in his NFL career. Dropping down to the F tier.
Yeah, so down to the F tier here, we've got Roschon Johnson heading it up here. And we're starting to get into some questionable draft capital, but really favorable situations from a fantasy perspective where a lot of these guys have the ability to increase in value here. And yeah, this is a nice long tier with 5 guys. And I got this one because I know how much you guys love listening to me talk. So Roschon Johnson, we think, is the bona fide running back 1 in the Bears offense, where they run it second only to the Falcons in the NFL. They run it so much. Obviously, David Montgomery leaving, and they really replacing him with Roschon. You have Khalil Herbert, who a lot of people are a fan of, but from a receiving upside perspective, Khalil Herbert last season in 13 games had 9 receptions for 57 yards.
Is that good?
No, it's not really that good. So I love how everyone loves to give him the 5.7 yards per carry argument with 129 rushing attempts. Like, come on, guys, that's going to go down. Roschon Johnson's the guy there in that offense. And moving on to Kendre Miller being next, there's absolutely an argument to have Kendre Miller over Roschon Johnson because of the draft capital alone. And some people even arguing that Kendre was kind of a reach in the third round. He had a lot of question marks going into the draft. The Saints took their shot, and Alvin Alvin Kamara's got some legal issues going on where he's probably going to get a suspension. Some would wager at the end of the season rather than the beginning. That's something to keep an eye on. You obviously have kind of a crowded backfield with Jamal Williams being signed there for, I think, the next 2 years. And Jamal Williams was a running back 1 last season. Do we think Jamal Williams is going to produce at the level he did last year? No, because his touchdowns are unsustainable. But with Kendra Miller getting that 3rd round draft capital, it's still going to take him a little while to develop. And I think when you get to the end of the season, he's going to be getting a lot more opportunities, and I think his stock is going to go up as well. Jonathan Mingo, you can only dislike Jonathan Mingo so much and rank him so low because he still does have early 2nd round draft capital going into an offense where their lead wide receiver is 31 years old, and he's got Bryce Young long-term. So I think with Jonathan Mingo, we don't love the prospect. The situation long-term could be friendly. And if Mingo pans out, like honestly, we don't really think he will, but if he does, very favorable situation. And there is some upside there with his athletic ability. Then you have Marvin Mims, also 2nd round draft capital. Simon and I have loved Marvin Mims through the pre-draft process. He got the 2nd round draft capital that we were hoping for, and he's a wide receiver 2 in his offense behind Jerry Jeudy. So with that, what's his fantasy upside going to be when he's probably going to be a field stretcher with his 4.39 speed, I think? That's probably what his upside's going to be, honestly, long term. So
nice.
Devon Achane backing up this tier. Thanks, man.
Keep going.
Devon Achane backing up this tier. We are known, I wouldn't say haters, but we don't like Devon Achane either. He would have to be the outlier of outliers to really be a successful dynasty and fantasy asset long term. So yes, he had 3rd round draft capital. Yes, Mike McDaniel drafted him, is all excited about him. You saw him jumping up and down during the draft. He's like 180 pounds and 2 inches tall. So what's he really going to do in the NFL? He'll probably be a nice weapon. He's got a decent route tree and he can catch the ball. He'll be good at returning punts. Limited fantasy upside, big time.
Yeah, I got some statistics on this. Achane is actually 188, but out of the 3,623 running back seasons total recorded since 2000, there have been only 324 that have been guys under 200 pounds selected outside of the 1st round. Only 17 of those seasons have ever been over 15 points per game. Only 17. And if you take out Jamal Charles, only 11 of them have. So 11 out of 3,623. I don't think Achane is necessarily going to defy those odds, and that sounds like a horrible bet to me. But we'll move on to the next tier where we have Sam Laporta. I'm sorry, Nathan took a little bit of a while, as he would say.
Wow, that was good.
But we have Sam Laporta here.
It wasn't that long.
Entering the explosive offense in Detroit. The Detroit, obviously a top 5 offense in the NFL last year in yards and in touchdowns. Laporta is going to be taking over the role vacated by T.J. Hawkinson. The problem was T.J. Hawkinson was not that productive while he was in Detroit, but
inconsistent.
Yeah, he was inconsistent. But Laporta, a rookie, maybe they feed him a different role. Maybe he's able to get more of a field stretching role in that offense, and we liked him as a prospect coming out of Iowa. Next, we have Rashee Rice. You look at what the wide receivers do in Kansas City every year, and outside of Tyreek Hill, they've never really had an alpha. Rashee Rice, we kind of expect more of the same thing. He's a good athlete, and Andy Reid will be able to scheme him up, and every 3 weeks, he's going to give you a good game. But those other 2, he's probably going to disappear, but it's Dynasty. He's playing with Patrick Mahomes. He's worth a shot. Next, we have Michael Wilson with, I believe, a 3rd round pick to the Cardinals. And he doesn't have Kyler there this year. I think you're going to have a buy low window on Michael Wilson playing out of the slot. Someone who's very creative. He knows how to create space and get open on his own. He's very good when he's playing against his own defense, and we expect Michael Wilson to surprise a lot of people. We have Tyjae Spears following up afterwards. Tyjae no ACL Spears. He's backing up Derrick Henry, obviously an aging legend, and we don't expect Derrick Henry to just disappear, but Tyjae might pick up a decent workload there, and if he flashes, we've seen it happen with other players. Look at Khalil Herbert, someone who lucked into a starting role after a few years of his veteran leaving. And Tyjae Spears could be that guy in the future. And next we have Tank Bigsby, someone who is behind a younger running back and someone we don't see going anywhere anytime soon, and that's Travis Etienne. But Tank Bigsby, the Jaguars used a third-round pick on him. They have an explosive offense with Doug Peterson, obviously headed up by Trevor Lawrence. And so Bigsby could offer some standalone value there, especially if Etienne happens to get hurt. But last, we will land with another Packers asset, and that's Luke Musgrave. Musgrave entering into an offense with Jordan Love, there's a lot of question marks around. He has Christian Watson in that offense, Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed, and none of them have solidified themselves as an alpha there. None of them are really dominating targets. So we leave with Luke Musgrave, someone who can, in a tight end premium league, maybe surprise a lot of people. And there's a lot of upside, and we're excited about what he could do in Green Bay. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And again, these are going to change throughout the season. Obviously, things are going to, flip flop as players start to get on the field, and you're going to have different. Oh man, training camp. Man. You're going to have different opinions as well. So let us know in the comments what you think. Who we have too high, who we have too low, who you have in your own personal rankings. That's always interesting to hear as well. But
Devon A. Chain criminally too low.
Yeah, well, we like not criminally betting on outliers. So, all right, do us a huge favor. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're heading over to flockfantasy.com/domain. When you use our code, which again is domain, you get 30% off. You get all the rankings. You get all the articles, databases. You get access to our Discord. We'll do a team review of your video if you do the Mother Flocker tier, and you'll get in a league with us. Sounds pretty cool, right? Graphic on screen.
That's some high quality stuff.
Support the channel. Not only that, it's a really good product, and it will help you in your Dynasty leagues a ton. So we appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.